You've smelled it in the meats and probably the streets. That sweet scent of fermented corn that instantly tells you the guy next to you in the other lane is probably making 200 more wheel horsepower than you. It might be the magic elixir. Or is it? Everybody talks about E85, but nobody talks about what it's actually doing inside your motor, or what it's even like to daily use it. We're going to talk about the actual chemistry of octane to show you how exactly it reacts inside your combustion chamber. We'll break down if dumping this stuff into your boosted application actually behaves entirely different than running it naturally aspirated. Before we get into all this information, please drop a like if you enjoy the video and comment on what your build is. A lot of informative research went into this video, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, we need to kill the biggest myth in the car community for those who don't know. Octane does not equal energy. For the new guys getting into cars, I just want to let you know that. Pouring 93 into a bone stock Honda Civic built for 87 is not going to give you 10 horsepower. So what is octane? To simply put it, it's basically a shield. It is the fuel resistance to detonation. When you run cheap 87 octane in a high compression or boosted motor, the heat and pressure causes the fuel to explode before the spark even fires. That is detonation. Higher octane fuels like 91 or 93 burn slower and more controlled under extreme pressure. They actually wait for the spark. So E85, right? E85 is roughly 85% ethanol and 15% gasoline. Ethanol is an alcohol, which means two massive things for your motor. Number one, the octane rating. E85 has an effective octane rating of around 105 to 110, so it is incredibly stable. It practically refuses to knock, meaning tuners can advance the ignition timing, and usually more timing usually means more power. And number two, the cooling effect. It's called latent heat of vaporization. When ethanol changes from a liquid to a gas inside your intake, it absorbs a massive amount of heat. It literally ice baths your combustion chamber from the inside out. Cooler intake charges are denser, which means you can cram more air and fuel into the cylinder. So you're getting race gas levels of knock resistance and chemical intercooling for roughly $3 a gallon? Sounds pretty sweet. But here's the catch, not all fuels are created equal, and throwing corn juice at the problem isn't the same as running dedicated track fuel. So here's what people on the internet don't tell you. There are levels to the fuel game. You have street performance gas and you have dedicated track fuel. They are very, very, very different. Pump E85 is like the Wild West. Depending on where you live and what time of year it is, E85 coming out of this yellow handle might actually be E70 or even E50. It's called a winter blend, and gas stations do it so cars can actually cold start when the temperature drops. If your tuner built for a map, assuming if you have 85% ethanol and you do a third gear pull in E50, well, it's going to run lean and detonate, and then bad things happen. Track guys usually don't play pump roulette. They buy sealed drums of race ethanol. It's exactly 85% ethanol every single time, usually mixed with high-grade gas instead of a cheap 87. But it costs like, I don't know, 5 times as much. For a daily driver, you're not buying a 15-gallon race fuel to commute to work. That's just not happening. You're going to be probably using the pump, which means daily driver needs a flex fuel sensor to survive. But we'll get back to that in a minute. Hold up for now. First, we have to talk about who actually benefits from this stuff, because how octane affects a naturally aspirated car and a forced induction car are completely different. Let's say you have a bolt-on, right? Naturally aspirated daily. If you throw E85 on it, you are basically paying like for a bodyguard that you don't need. Without the violent cylinder pressures of a turbo or supercharger, your engine isn't fighting knock anyway. I mean, sure, if you have crazy high compression for an NA build like maybe 12 to 1 or higher, that would make sense. You can have some aggressive gains with the timing. But for 90% stock built and NA cars, you're just going to get terrible gas mileage and maybe 5 to 10 horsepower, and that's usually a waste of time. But add boost now, and it kind of changes everything. Turbos and superchargers create massive heat and insane cylinder pressure. On standard 91 or 93 pump gas, that heat becomes your enemy. The ECU has to pull the timing so that the engine doesn't destroy itself, and you'll basically hit a wall. So when you introduce E85 to a boosted setup, the chemical intercooling we talked about kicks in. It drops the cylinder temps dramatically. It refuses to knock, and suddenly the wall is gone. Your tuner can put up with the boost. Crank the timing, and now you're easily making around 50 to 80, sometimes even 100 plus wheel horsepower over pump gas, and that's pretty cool. For a boosted car, E85 is the single best dollar per horsepower mod on the planet. But remember, ethanol requires about 30% more fuel volume to match the energy of regular gasoline. Your stock fuel system wasn't built for that. Which brings us to the next part that actually hurts a lot of people money-wise, the hardware. Now let's talk about the hardware. The internet guys who love to scream that E85 is cheap power, and yeah, the fuel itself might be cheaper at the pump, but you're getting a car ready to actually drink it? That's where the budget can kind of tank. Okay, so here's the math to it. Because ethanol has less energy per volume than regular gasoline, your ECU has to dump about 30% more fluid into the cylinder just to hit like the right air-fuel ratio. That means if you just pour E85 into a stock car, your fuel system is instantly maxed out and you run dangerously lean. And again, bad things happen. So step 1, you need bigger injectors. Step 2, you need bigger fuel pump. You are easily looking at dropping $1,000 or more just to physically move enough liquid from the tank to the engine. And then step 3, compatibility. Ethanol is alcohol. It is a solvent and is highly corrosive. If you try to run it through old standard rubber fuel lines, it will literally eat them from the inside out. It turns the inside of the hose into a black sludge that immediately clogs the brand new $1,000 injectors you just bought. And you have to upgrade the PTFE line hoses, and that can sometimes be kind of a hassle. And finally, the most critical piece of hardware for a daily driver, and do not skip this, is the flex fuel sensor. Remember the pump roulette we just talked about earlier? The little sensor splices into your fuel line and reads the exact ethanol content in real time. It sends data straight to your ECU, which automatically adjusts your tune on the fly, which is kind of nice. So if you fill up with good E85, it gives you all the timing and all the sauce. So if your car ends up getting a fuel mixture it doesn't like, it will safely correct itself. If you're daily driving on an E85 car without a flex fuel sensor and dedicated flex tune, again, bad things. By the time you buy the injectors, the pump, the lines, the sensor, and you play with your tuner for a custom flex fuel map, the cheap horsepower and the cost is about $2 to $3 maybe. Which brings us kind of to the reality check of driving one of these, like the setup for work every single day. So think about this. You have a nice street build. You're trying to daily something like on E85 and it's 30 degrees outside. You're late for work and your car suddenly thinks it's a carbureted tractor from 1974. This is literally the reality no one talks about. Ethanol has a terrible flashpoint in the cold weather. It simply does not want to vaporize and ignite when the block is freezing. If your tuner didn't perfectly dial in a cold start cranking fuel into the ignition timing, you're going to be sitting in your driveway walking up the whole neighborhood just to trying to find a ride. And remember when I said you need 30% more fuel volume? That directly translates to your gas mileage. If you were getting 20 mpg on premium pump gas, congratulations, you're now getting about 14 on E85. Sure, the fuel is like $1 cheaper per gallon, but you're filling up constantly. If your daily commute is long, you'll be seeing Quick Trip a lot. And we can't ignore the maintenance on it. E85 is hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs water right out of the air. If your daily driver sits for a few weeks, that moisture builds up in your fuel system and causes corrosion. Honestly, debatable, even worse than cylinder wash. Because you're dumping so much extra fuel into the motor, especially when it's cold. Some of the raw ethanol washes past the piston rings and then goes straight into your oil pan. Over time, that breaks down the viscosity of your oil and it loses the ability to protect your bearings. If you daily an E85 car, your 5,000 mile oil change intervals are basically dead. You're going to be changing that oil every 25, probably maybe 3,000 miles-ish. Now let's answer the next question. Is E85 actually worth it for a daily driver? And again, we're kind of talking about more performance and street builds. If you have a naturally aspirated, relatively stock driver, I would say absolutely not. You're spending thousands on a fuel system and tunes just to get terrible gas mileage, and possibly annoying cold starts, and horsepower bump that you can barely feel in your butt. I would say then save that money. But if you're boosted, honestly, it's not bad. The horsepower per dollar ratio once you swallow the initial hardware tax is unmatched. 10 out of 10 would recommend. So honestly, if you're going to daily drive it, don't cheap out, get all those mods. Thank you for watching, and let me know what gas you're running in your track build or street build. We'll see you on the next one on Torquesavvy. Peace.